Who is Shaquille O'Neal? It was February 7, 1993, and the Orlando Magic were playing the Phoenix Suns in the National Basketball Association NBA game. The NBA is a men's professional basketball league that plays in North America. The Magic were only in their fourth season in the NBA. Their game was being broadcast live on national television for the first time in franchise history, while a sold-out crowd of over 19,000 fans watched the game in the Suns America West Arena. Everybody was focused on rookie Shaquille O'Neal, the Magic's 7'1", 300-pound center. Shaq, pronounced Shaq, played basketball like a bulldozer. In a game filled with giants, Shaq was still taller and stronger than his opponents. Defenders who got in this way could end up on the floor, or in the third row. "When he gets the ball under the basket, I pray he misses," said Hakeem Olajuwon, another 7-foot-tall NBA center. "He's so big and he can't be stopped." In the matchup against the Suns, Super Shaq did not disappoint his fans. Less than 3 minutes into the game, he went up for a thundering two-handed dunk. The Shaq attack did not just bring down the rim and the backboard, it also pulled down the entire basket structure, the rim and net, the 6-foot by 3-foot backboard, and the bar and post. The backboard and rim were attached to onto the court. Players scattered out of the way to safety. No one had ever seen anything like it. No other player had ever had the strength and power to do something like that. The game had to be delayed for 37 minutes as workers brought in a whole new basket replacement. Shaq stood on the sideline and smiled a giant 1,000-watt smile. He's a serious basketball player, but he knows how to have fun while playing the game, too. "I was a little surprised," he said later about the mighty dunk. "But when it started coming down, I started running the other way." Shaq finished the game with 20 points. But the Magic lost the game 121-105. The score didn't really matter, though the Hercules-sized dunk announced to the world that the 20-year-old Shaquille O'Neal was Superman in a basketball uniform. He was a star like no other. Chapter 1: An Army Kid. Shaquille Rashawn O'Neal was born on March 6, 1972 in Newark, New Jersey. His mother explained that Shaquille Rashawn is an Arabic name that means little warrior. As he grew up, Shaquille's name sometimes got shortened to Shaq by family and friends. New paragraph: Shaquille was less than 8 pounds at birth, an average weight for a baby. Shaquille's mother, Lucille O'Neal, was 6 feet, 2 inches tall. She was 18 years old when her son was born. Shaquille's father, Joseph Tony, was a couple years older than Lucille and an inch shorter when Shaquille was only 6 months old. Joseph left Newark. He was later sent away to jail. At first, Lucille raised Shaquille with help from women in her family. But when her son was 2 years old, Lucille married Philip Harrison. New paragraph: Philip was an Army Reserve sergeant. By the time Shaquille was 4 years old, he was a head taller than other kids his age. When Lucille went out with her son, she had to make sure people treated Shaquille like a toddler and not like an older child. Because of Philip's job in the Army, Shaquille and his family moved around a lot. On average, military families are relocated every 3 years because some members of the military require new training while others often achieve new positions. When Shaquille was 5, his family moved from Newark to Bayonne, New Jersey. When he was in 3rd grade, the family moved to Fort Monmouth in Eatontown, NJ. New paragraph: Moving was hard on Shaquille. He had to try to make new friends repeatedly. He was lonely much of the time. Watching cartoons helped him adjust to each new move. His favorite character, Superman, was always there for him. During this time, Lucille and Philip had 3 children together: 2 daughters, Latifah and Aisha, and a son, Jamal. Shaq was a great big brother, and always looked out for them. "My mom taught me to change diapers, powder them, everything," said Shaq. Philip's army training made him strict with the children, but especially with Shaquille. Sometimes Shaquille goofed off in school, trying to impress new friends. Philip would go to the school to make sure his stepson was paying attention and behaving. When Shaquille did something wrong, Philip would spank him to make sure he didn't do it again. Kids teased Shaquille for being so tall. They called him names like Shaquille the Gorilla or Bigfoot. They told him that he was probably dumb and had been held back because he was so much bigger than anybody else. Shaquille got into fights because of all the teasing. My parents told me be proud of my size, but I wasn't. Shaquille said I wanted to be normal. The one place Shaquille felt at home was at the local Boys and Girls Club in whichever town the family was living. He went every day after school until his mom and dad came home from work. Going to the club gave Shaquille something to do with his time. It also helped him stay out of trouble. Shaquille did his homework, played games, and spent time doing a lot of different sports, including basketball. Shaq wasn't any good yet. He just liked playing. I was clumsy, Shaquille said. I hadn't really grown into my body. Of course, everybody expected me to excel because I was so big. Good luck explaining to people it doesn't work that way. By age 11, Shaquille was already 6 feet 4 inches tall. The average height for an 11-year-old boy is almost 2 feet shorter. Shaquille had to stop trick or treating on Halloween because of his size. Boys and Girls Clubs of America. The Boys and Girls Clubs of America is an organization that provides after-school programs for children all over the United States. The clubs, mostly run in our school buildings, offer sports, homework help, reading, arts and crafts, and computer time. The organization was started over 100 years ago to provide a safe, fun, and productive way to spend time after school. Today, nearly 4 million children are members of the 4,300 clubs across the United States. When I would go to the door, Shaquille said, people would just stand there, looking at me with their eyes wide open. "You too big to be trick or treating, ain't you?" In the middle of his 5th grade year, Shaquille's stepdad was transferred again, this time to Fort Stewart in Hinesville, Georgia. After a short stay in Georgia, Shaquille and his family moved again to an army base in Wiesbaden, Germany, in 1984. Although Shaquille didn't know it at the time, his basketball career was just about to take off. Chapter 2: Germany. There wasn't much for Shaquille to do in Germany. He was in a whole new country where it snowed a lot and people spoke a different language. Shaquille still showed off in school to help make new friends. One day, he tried to teach his classmates how to break dance. Many American kids were doing these acrobatic hip-hop moves, but some of the kids from Germany had never seen them before. When Shaquille got on the ground to demonstrate a move, the teacher thought he was sick, or having a seizure. New paragraph. She called his parents to come and take him to the doctor, but they knew Shaquille was fine. He practiced break dancing around the house all the time. When Shaquille wasn't dancing, he continued to help his mom with his brother and sisters. Shaquille loved being around younger kids. He loved playing with them and having fun. He nicknamed himself Shaq Daddy. Shaquille also spent a lot of time playing basketball. His stepfather practiced with him, doing one-on-one drills and teaching him to shoot and play defense. By the time Shaquille was 13 years old, he was 6 feet 8 inches tall. But he still wasn't that great at basketball, and wasn't even playing on an organized team. "I couldn't jump over a pencil," Shaquille said. "I couldn't run or shoot. I had to practice." One day, an American college basketball coach visited the Army base to run a basketball clinic, a meeting where basketball players are evaluated and given instruction for local kids. Shaquille went to the clinic too. The man's name was Dale Brown, and he was the head coach at Louisiana State University. When he saw Shaquille, he asked him, "How long have you been in the Army, soldier?" Shaquille explained he wasn't in the Army. He was just a teenager. Coach Brown couldn't believe it. He knew a kid this size could be a great basketball player one day if he worked hard. During Shaquille's sophomore year of high school, his family was transferred back to the United States. They moved to San Antonio, Texas. All this moving was both good and bad for Shaquille. It was difficult because he had to adjust to a new school again and again. Moving so often can be hard, especially for a kid who didn't blend in with everybody else. However, moving so much was also good for Shaquille. It helped him become comfortable around strangers. It made him outgoing. He loved to joke and make other people smile. This was a trait that would stick with him his whole life. We made friends easier and quicker and adapted to new situations simply because we had to. Shaquille explained about himself and his siblings. It was a survival tool. Chapter 3: Star of the State. In 1987, Shaquille went to Robert G. Cole High School in San Antonio, Texas. He arrived from Germany too late to play for their basketball team as a sophomore, so he had to wait until his junior year. By 1988, at age 16, Shaquille was 6 feet, 10 inches tall. All his daily practice habits from Germany had helped him become a much smoother player. He felt more comfortable with his height. He was athletic and powerful. Believe it or not, Shaquille still couldn't dunk the basketball though. Basketball hoops are 10 feet off the ground, and players a lot shorter than Shaq can dunk easily. Shaq's new coach, Dave Madura, began working with Shaq to help him jump higher. He made Shaq do squats crouching and standing up with heavy weights on his shoulders, until his legs felt like they were on fire. Then a friend of Shaq started working with him to dunk, asking him to first dunk a sock. When Shaq could do that, he gave him a tennis ball, then a softball, then a volleyball, until finally he handed him a basketball. Once Shaquille learned to dunk, he couldn't stop. Shaquille began working even harder on his game. He played a lot with the enlisted men who lived on the army base, since some of these men were a little closer to his size. When Shaquille wasn't playing basketball, he watched it on television. New paragraph. I'd sit back and watch Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing and take all sorts of mental notes. Shaquille said about watching the former NBA stars. Now when I closed my eyes, I wasn't dreaming about the Hulk or Superman anymore. I was dreaming about Ewing and Jordan. Shaq became a national star during his 2 seasons at Cole High School. He was the biggest and toughest high school player anybody had ever seen. Newspapers around the country wrote about how great he was. His games were sold out every night. Little kids lined up and asked him for autographs. College coaches came to his practices and games to try to get him to come to their schools. His teammates began calling him Shaquille the Deal. By his senior year, Shaquille was offered more than 100 college basketball scholarships. That meant he could study at a university for free if he committed to playing basketball for the school's team. Shaquille loved all the attention. Maybe too much. He bragged a lot to his teammates, and acted like he could win the games all on his own. One day, instead of practicing, Shaquille stood on the sidelines talking to a girl. Coach Madura told Shaquille to get on the court and run. Coach made me run until I almost threw up, said Shaq. New paragraph. Shaquille soon changed his ways. He still loved to joke around, but only at the right time and place. During his senior year in 1989, Shaquille averaged 31 points, 22 rebounds, and 8 blocked shots per game. He led his team to the Texas State Championship title, their first one in school history. After the season, he was named the co-most valuable player of the elite McDonald's High School All-American Games, scoring 18 points, grabbing 16 rebounds, and blocking 6 shots. He was one of the best players in the country. Shaquille chose to attend Louisiana State University LSU, coached by Dale Brown. Coach Brown was the man Shaquille had met while his family was living in Germany. They had kept in touch, writing letters back and forth over the years. Dale Brown promised Shaquille he would teach him to be one of the world's best basketball players. He also promised he would teach him to be a good student and a good man. I just want you to know I'm recruiting a human being first and a basketball player second, Coach Brown told Shaquille's stepfather. Shaquille became a good student. Even though he hoped to play professional basketball one day, he still wanted to get an education too. LSU seemed like a school where he could do both things well.